Some of you like the oceans. You know why? You connect with the energies, the vital frequency of the ocean. Some like the mountains. And why? Because that's what resonates with you. But what we need to do is like ourselves so that we like all. And when we like all, we don't need to control because we're in control. And to be in control, you don't have to control. Do you understand that? It's the opposite of what you think. To be in control is to understand everything is perfectly fine. You just have to be mature enough, strong enough to let go. Now, human development. Evolution provoked the development of humans and the so-called, believe me, that's a big so-called, advancement of the brain. And what we do know after the last 40 years of millions and millions of MRIs, magnetic resonance imagery, being done on the brain, the average person uses 3 to 4% of our brain. So now when you feel dumb, we have an excuse for you. Some days I think I'm using a half of 1%. How about you? Now, give pause to this for a minute. The brain is an organ. It's not the mind. The brain's an organ. It's not consciousness. The brain is an organ. Now, with that said, there is no organ in the body that ought not to be working at 100%. Now, because of our arrogance and insecurity, we keep looking at our ancestral heritage as primitive and savage. But I assure you, I promise you, at some point in human history, there were people using close to 100% of their brain. How about if I said, let's use 3% of your heart? We'd all die. Let's use 2% of your liver. We'd all die. So what I'm saying to you is the brain, because we started to use the intellect rather than the instinct, has stopped functioning. The instinct is actually what exercises all areas of the brain. And as we became more intellectual, more cerebral, because we became what? Less connected, we stopped using parts of our brain. So this is why we can have war, sexism, racism, hatred. Yeah. You can have political parties today that do not serve you, but you get all excited to listen to them. You think that there's a right and a left. No, there's corporate greed. There's no right and left. And I know some of these incredibly good people in government. Some of them come to us. Good people that I trust. And they say to me, to stay here, to get one good thing done, we have to compromise on 3. It used to be 2, it used to be 1 for 1, now it's 3. And the only way you can have a campaign that lasts for a year and a half, 2 years, is you have to sell out somebody. So when you vote now in the future, don't buy into right and left and philosophy. Look on the internet, because it's there today. If you don't use the internet, if you're older, get your kids and grandchildren. The younger they are, the better it is, to give you the internet. And basically find out who's funding who. How you have got to vote now is who has the least evil corporations funding. They all have corporations evil funding. The truth of the matter is who's least. That's who you vote for. Because your rights have been taken away, you just haven't figured it out yet. Human development. Our need to create the perception of solidity forced us to remove ourselves from the energy imbalance of all other planetary biology. Elements and structure. This is how we have estranged ourselves from the ionics of realization and well-being. What does that mean? Anyone know? So as we started to control the earth, as we started to slaughter animals, all of you that think drinking milk's a terrific thing. By the way, tonight I brought a cow out in front of the building here. As we go out, all you dairy drinkers who think it's good, I'm going to get you to genuflect and suck the breast of the cow. If you're willing to do that, please leave now. It's unbelievable. We are as thick as a rock. Now, the ionics of realization is all consciousness, by the way. All awareness is already here. You don't have to work hard at being conscious. You have to let go to be conscious. You follow that? So when I had this couple that I've known for 30-some years, wonderful couple, they had lived over in Australia. And every morning they got up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they used to have, in the 2 houses I saw them in when they lived here in the United States, they built big closets, and at 4 o'clock they'd go in and they'd meditate until 8 o'clock in the morning when they'd bring their boys to school. And they came to my office about a decade ago, and they cried. And they said to me, you know, you're our friend, we just have to ask you, we don't know what's wrong. we've been meditating like this for 40 years, and we haven't gotten any closer to God. What do you think? And I said, I thought you'd never ask. I said, you lock your ass in the closet 4 hours a day, you're not going to get closer to God. You follow me? You've got to learn to make life your meditation. You've got to learn that you're connected with everything, and it doesn't take effort to become conscious. You're already conscious. You're just not strong enough to let it happen. Do you follow that? You still are the little boy and little girl that was not corrupted before they started to pattern you. This is what a girl does. This is what a boy does. You're short, you're tall, you're bright, you're poor, you're rich, you're black, you're white. That's what they do. You still have that essence of purity and wisdom and knowledge and instinct inside you. But guess what you did? You cluttered it up with the intellect. That's our problem. So the realization is there. You just have to be strong enough to realize it. This is what the universe is, little dots of light. They become all different things, including the chair and table you're sitting at now, and they become Joe here. Joe the number, rather than Joe the plumber. Or Joe the dumber, if you want to call him that. Human development. Nutrition is a key biological force and a clear example of how energetic totality works. Now tonight we won't have the time to show it, but last night I showed some films made by Dr. Hunt in 1983 of bioenergy fields. He took a young man with the typical American lunch, a candy bar, hamburger, soda, and French fries. And as he chewed and swallowed, you watched the electromagnetic energy go to nothing around him. Gave him a quart and a half of water, flushed his body out. 10 minutes later, put raw food in front of him. You watched the exact opposite happen 10 minutes later. Adam's apple goes up and down, electromagnetic energy comes out. Now, by the way, when people become smart enough, I'm going to be able to write a 3-page health book. Page 1, guy eating bad food. Page 2, guy eating good food. Last page, the end. Period. All you have to know about nutrition is all things come from the sun. It's captured on the leaf of the plant. It's called chloroplasts that do that by the way. Chloroplasts are what capture like solar rays. And nutrition you have to eat is living nutrition. Let's go back to phosphorus again. Remember, your chromosomes, which differentiate you from all the other 7,267,154 people as of yesterday, literally all have phosphorus around them. Guess what? Every cell in your body, you have 100 trillion cells, doctor. We're pretty clear on that now. 100 trillion cells. And all of the nerves in the body have phosphorus. Why is that important? Let's now look at transference and assimilation of light particles. So what phosphorus does is it attracts light particles from what? The multiple universes. And it goes into every cell in your body, who you are. You're just a gathering of 100 trillion cells. One of the largest areas of cells you have are called, the largest organ called the what? Skin. And so when you see people that have lots of phosphorus and they're connected to the universe, they seem to have a glow factor. You understand that? What a glow factor looks like? You ever see somebody that you say, wow? And you know who we always say wow with? Babies. You ever see an infant? Because they haven't been contaminated. So you could have a murderer see a baby and melt. Yesterday I had an opportunity to spend with my latest grandchild, little girl, 2 months old. It's like being with God. It is being with God. Like she just sits and looks. You look. You glow, she glows. Oh, it's so glowing. Amazing stuff, isn't it? The only materials that pass through the phosphorus sheaths are the light particles of vitamins, minerals, nutrients, and unfortunately chemical elements. So what was said earlier is absolutely correct. Where most cancers come from today, certainly autism comes from today, multiple sclerosis comes from today, Parkinson's comes from today, ALS comes from today, are chemicals and heavy metals in the environment. And why they're so difficult to get out of the body is because your cells draw them in as they do nutrients, and they become part of the tissue. So they become part of your liver, part of your brain, part of your heart, and unfortunately part of your bones. And in those cases, it could manifest cancers in each of those areas. We are vessels of light particles, assimilation and emission. We are not biology and physical the way we think. This is why I can take a laser, modern lasers, and put it over a tumor and watch it in a matter of days start to erode. This is why I can take electromagnetic. By the way, we do every single day. And I've been doing this for more than 30 years. I became director 32 years ago. 31 years ago I started this. If I can do this at Hippocrates here in Florida, why isn't every hospital doing this? Why isn't every organization in the world? Why are you learning here in a library on a Monday night about something that, by the way, the medical school should be listening to now? Because the pharmaceuticals control the medical school. There's no money in telling people that they're lying. There's no money in telling people that you don't have to work hard. Now, we weren't the first smart people. The Asians 2,000–3,000 years ago figured this out. Of course, they weren't sophisticated. They couldn't articulate what we are about this. They knew one thing. You had a problem here, you stuck a needle here, stuck it in your toe. Somehow that thing in the middle started to go away. And how did that happen? Pretty simple. It connected to the electromagnetic frequency, enhanced it, strengthened it, by putting metallic to metallic, increased electron activity, and started to erode the electromagnetic disorder that you think of as a tumor. But all it is an electromagnetic disorder. You all following what we're saying here? It's so it's frustrating today. This happens. Now, isolated phosphorus. How many of you had an opportunity on moonless nights to go over here to the beach and to walk along on a moonless night and scrape your bare feet across the sand? Have you ever noticed little stars disappearing? That's phosphorus disappearing. What you're seeing, if you haven't done this, do it, by the way. This year, that's your homework. Take your shoes off, go on the beach. Now's a good time. The moon's going down. And scrape your feet across the sand. You're going to see stars disappearing into the universe. Now, when isolated from all other chemical compounds, what is your chromosome? 98%. The only way that you hold into a physical form is 2% oxygen. Follow it? So now we cracked it. This is what we're writing about. The main thrust. We're cracking it down on a very clear biological and chemical way. But the only thing that manifests your body so I can see it in the form of cells is you have 2% oxygen. Ironically, what is a sign of life and what is a sign of death? Oxygen. When we have babies, the first thing we want to see the baby do is, and God forbid somebody dies, what are we testing? Isn't it brilliant? Everything's perfect except us. It's just amazing. And so we are literally invisible. How many of you have seen the new lasers? You put them through your body and they come out the other side. Now, you know what a laser is? And I had them 25 years ago at Hippocrates. I threw them all out. Paid tens of thousands of dollars, threw them out. They weren't working. About 3.5 years ago, I get a call from one of our alumnus who healed double breast cancer that went to her bone. 2 years later, brought her little 3-year-old granddaughter who was dying of a brain tumor, blastoma. By the way, that's the #1 killer of children, blastoma and leukemia. So children are dying of those two cancers. And the little girl came and we stopped the death process, but she's still comatose because her little brain, when we saw the MRIs, we were stunned. We couldn't see the brain. We could see a tumor. So she would occasionally go into a coma, although we saved her life with a lifestyle. Her neighbors out in California said, "Have you heard about Dr. John?" And they drove 3.5 hours to Sacramento from the coast of California. And Dr. John was a brilliant, wonderful, 87-year-old guy. It's incredible. He's like a Renaissance man in genius. And he has all the latest laser machines. And they put the little girl under and she stopped comatose. No more comas. And I learned a lot, probably most of what I've learned since I was a younger man, not from books, but from our guests. And they do things. When we watch them, we follow them. You know, we do science, we do clinical research in every guest. We have people who basically come to us dying. Now we watch this year, and that year, and this year. 30 years later, we watch the transformation and what happens in every case. And so